6 shots of the lead going into the final 2 rounds. 1 birdie, 1 bogey, 36 that adds up to. Stacey Lewis back on the tee.
Hammering it down that right-hand side, knowing the wind will take it back to the left a bit.
Oh, that's got a lot of go on it.
Yeah, that had a good, low, penetrating trajectory.
That is a beautiful tee shot, Kay, for Stacey Lewis. Tom mentioned earlier, it's been a while since she's been here to Ko'olina, but happy she's back. This is Chun up at the green for a birdie. Saw Michelle Wee's putt. Doesn't break to the right as much as you think. She took advantage of it. These ladies are such good putters. You show them a line like that, and chances are they're going to make it. She did. It's a nice way to finish her outward 9 around to 35. No blemishes on that card.
Today's aerial coverage is provided by the Hawaiian Islands. And Michelle Wee playing here not far from Punahou School, Mark, where she attended high school, the alma mater, as well as our 44th president, Barack Obama.
Yeah, wonderful school, private school, Punahou. And a good look at the Ko'olina Development, Farrington Highway on the right-hand corner of your screen there. Everything pretty.
Making the turn right on the cut line, Michelle Wee at the 10th.
Clubbing back like everybody does on this old down breeze from the left. She didn't watch that one very long. Always a good sign.
Back-to-back par 5s coming up at 13 and 14. Huge crowds following Michelle Wee all week, cheering her on, hoping she's here for the weekend. Third shot at that par 5 14th, the second of back-to-back par 5s, Nicole Brock Larson. There really are no greens, are there, here that are flat, Karen?
No, they've all got little tiers in them, and it really makes clubbing very difficult because you want to be on the right level to get yourself a good chance at birdie.
Brooke Henderson at 10.
Her natural draw should hold right up into this breeze and make it for a much straighter feeling hole.
It is?
Yeah. Right down Broadway. Which one of those lanes you get in can affect the second shot, can it?
It really can, because you have down grain and into the grain, but with them playing lift, clean and place, most players are able to use that club length to their advantage and get it into the down grain portion of the fairway.
Well, for a good chunk of our broadcast, toward the end of our broadcast, we were in the in the bad weather and looking at the sun shine off at the distance. the opposite of the moment. This is Escajon for birdie at the 10th. Is it enough? Not quite. Right now there are 73 players at 1 under par or better. Really impressive first-year player here at the 9th.
And she's in an unusual position of being on that cut line. Played in 7 LPGA events last year and never missed a cut, and was in contention in most of the majors. Hasn't missed a cut yet this year, and undercut that one.
I think what you see with Sun Hyun is that she does hit the ball really high, generates a lot of spin in those wind conditions, makes it tough for her.
Stacey Lewis next.
Let's see if she can hit a shot closer to what Austin Ernst did. She's up there about 4 feet away. This has a great line.
Beautiful result there. That is one of the best we have seen. Second shot's getting better.
Helps when you just have a little sand wedge in, doesn't it?
Well, a good chance for a 3. We go over to 10.
Here is Michelle Wie. And with more on Michelle in this amazing career, here's Tom Abbott.
Well, thank you, Grant. Yes, you think back to Michelle Wie's career, and there have been some memorable moments here in her home state of Hawaii. We can take a look back now at some of those memorable moments, starting back in 2002 at the Takafuji Classic. She became the youngest to Monday qualify for an LPGA event. She was just 12 years old. She shot 6 over to miss the cut by only 3 shots. In 2004, the first of 8 PGA Tour starts for Michelle Wie. Her debut in the Sony Open on a sponsor's exemption. Somewhat controversial at the time, if you remember. She was the youngest female to play a PGA Tour event. Didn't play the weekend, but caused a lot of headlines. In 2009, at the SBS Open at Turtle Bay, she held the final round lead, closed with a 73. And she finished second to Angela Stanford. Wasn't far away from winning that first LPGA title. Her third LPGA Tour victory did come on home soil in the 2014 Lotte Championship. It was the third win of Michelle Wie's career, but her first on U.S. soil. She finished at 14 under par, and it was good enough to win by 2 over Angela Stanford, who had beaten her back in 2009 at Turtle Bay. Michelle Wie now out on the course, battling to make the cut. This a second to the 10th, Grant.
Jerry's out there, and she doesn't like it.
No, she shouldn't. That's right again. And a little short in this hit. That was just a pitching wedge, too.
The wind can affect the ball, but is it affecting the swings of some of these players? We've seen some weird shots.
It can make the player hurry, that's for sure.
And here's Team Henderson sizing up a second shot.
I was 2 yards behind Michelle. I think she played because she wasn't anywhere near her ball, having to get out of the way of NG Chun. Michelle did to allow Brooke time to do it. This is a gap wedge, and I think the reason is because Brooke naturally hits the ball so much higher than Michelle. The wind will have more time to help it.
And let's send it back down to Tom to put a ribbon on this.
We've talked quite a bit about it over the course of the last 2 days. Mark Rolfing also knows Michelle well and has spoken about this. Ko'olina is a golf course that Michelle has been playing since her very early years in the game. I'm reminded of a story from when Michelle was 14 years old. The PGA pro here, Greg Nichols, called Michelle and he said, why don't you come down to the course today? We have a special visitor. Dr. Condoleezza Rice, who was the then Secretary of State, was making a trip through Hawaii on her way back to the mainland from Guam, and she wanted a golf lesson. She had called called Greg Nichols, and he, of course, called Michelle down. Michelle said it was one of the most nervous times she's ever had on a course, not because she was playing, but because Condoleezza Rice invited her to drive the golf cart, to drive her around the course. Michelle was just 14. She didn't have a driving license. She had Secret Service watching on and the life of the Secretary of State in her hand. She said, I was terribly nervous, but everything was absolutely fine. Of course, just one of those moments that goes down in the Michelle Wie history here at Coalina that also includes a victory back in 2014. Maybe she can turn things around here, Grant, and get into contention for another win in Hawaii.
Tom, thanks. Mark, you know some other stuff here about this story.
Well, I've watched it very closely, watched her grow up here in Hawaii, both on and off the golf course, and I really think that she is dedicated to looking back at the way she was in 2002, 2004, and how much she enjoyed the game, how much pleasure she got out of it. And I think when she does that, she has totally dedicated herself this week to having more fun on the course, and I think that'll be a good sign for Michelle Wie. Back at 9 now, Stacey Lewis for a birdie. Good chance here. That's a beauty. Excellent front side outgoing 9 for Stacey Lewis. Just the one blemish at the 6th. We go up to 14.
And Marissa Steen has this for birdie.
She's been playing quite nicely. Really enjoyed watching her hit some balls earlier today on the driving range. Has a great swing, strikes the ball really well.
And now live, Nicole Brock Larson, this to save par at this par 5.
I think this is a player that will be on the European team at some point in the Solheim Cup. Don't know if this will be the year for her, but certainly in the future.
4 under is tied for 20th, 5 shots off the lead. At the 10th, Brooke Henderson for birdie.
Hole high, some 35 feet away. Probably the overall flattest green on the course. This shouldn't have much break. Right at the hole. It seems like it's on a little bit of a mound there that could throw it right. Brooke Henderson, though, keeps that putter as low as I think anybody on the LPGA Tour. Keeps that putter so low on the backstroke. Well, that had more break on it than either of us saw.
To the 11th.
This is Escajon's second shot. Ball above her feet, launches it way up in the air at the par 4. That'll come down softly just below the hole. That's okay. Right on line. We go back to 10.
And NG Chun with a putt for birdie.
He probably aided greatly by watching Brooke Henderson's putt. That Brooke shaking her head. And I think, guys, this is what makes NG such a contender so often. She doesn't have her best stuff today, but she is fighting it out and still managing to make a birdie here and there.
She burned the lip on 5, just misses there at the 10th.
Attitude is everything when it's tough conditions outside. You have to embrace the tougher conditions and love it.
Never seen her frown?
Actually, no.
Okay, Michelle Wie for par. What do you got here, Jerry?
Well, she's seen it twice, so it shouldn't be much of a mystery in terms of what it'll do. But again, I'm kind of losing count how many putts like this of this length or a little longer she's had to make today to save par.
I mean, just if I can chime in just on an observation on that little piece that we watched of Michelle, you know, when she first came out and she was the Monday qualifier, how smooth and easy her swing looked. Then you go back a couple of years later after she's trying to play on the PGA Tour and it almost looks really violent, like she's really trying to out-hit the ball, trying to gain a lot of distance on it. Great save there. I wonder how much of an effect that had on her.
Well, she's 1 under and hanging tough with some par saves right on that cut line. rain falling up on the Waianae Mountains. And down here at Ko'olina, we remained in the sunshine. Had a 44-minute weather delay yesterday as the heavens opened. Puddling on the greens. And we're at the 11th now.
Escajon up the hill, little left-hand break. She didn't see it. So she will settle for her par. Current cut line, as you see on the top of the screen, -1. There are all the scores going by you up above on the ticker. Katie Burnett, who played so well here a year ago, at -1. She's a little nervous. Michelle Wee now has it teed up, all the way on the right-hand side. Almost always the player will play a little bit of a fade when you do that.
Marie is not as strong right now. Still from the left and helping. This looks like her 5-wood. Carries a 1-3-5 and then 1 hybrid and 5-iron through the wedge assortment. Low baby fade, still up the left edge.
All right. We'll scamper into the rough, but the tee shots have looked good. The putting looks good. It's the iron shots right in the middle that she's had a little trouble with. Consequently, she's been working hard for pars. Now Henderson.
Brooke with 3-wood out.
Trouble over on the right-hand side here, Jerry, that the viewers can't really see off this tee.
Well, you got a fairway bunker up there that sometimes the lip will give you issues. It's a pretty big miss from the way this hole's laid out. But it is there. Right of that, it's big trouble. That'd be a huge miss. Big, high, towering, straight ball down the left center.
That noise is a big jet. Getting ready to touch down on the reef runway at Honolulu International. The trade winds are up, which means the planes will be flying into the wind. That is actually, it looks like an F-15 maybe. Hickam Air Force Base right in the vicinity.
Stacey Lewis with a 3rd shot here, Kay. Tell us about it.
Well, she smartly hit 3-wood off the tee, intending to hit it down the center, left center. And she peeled one off to the right, and it bounced into the water. So now facing a tough 3rd shot because she had to drop in the rough. Got a little bit of a downhill lie. She's got her work cut out, I think, just to make a bogey 5. Just try to get this one on the center of the green.
Bogey at this point, right? Just take your medicine.
I really think so. I mean, you can't try and get too cute and try and go for it and then end up with a double. You've got to keep those big numbers off the card.
At the 18th, this is the 9th hole of the day for Yoonhee Ji, just 3 back. And uh-oh, careful. Oh, goodness gracious. And that's certainly inside the hazard, and it appears down into the water. Goodness gracious. So Yoonhee Ji going to be scrambling, getting 3 out and 4, hitting a 5th. Stacey Lewis has a long putt for par to stay 1 back in a moment.
back to the island of Oahu. Brooke Henderson, second shot at the par 4 11th.
Down breeze, 104 yards. See if she can dial in a wedge this time.
She hadn't done much of that lately.
This one needs to go a little.
That's a little better, but really not great from that distance.
No, not at all. Not by her standards, certainly.
Back to 10.
And a long putt for par for Stacey Lewis. His tee shot found the water. And Karen, there are these generous landing areas, but there are these little holes like 10 where the water creeps in off the tee, isn't there?
There are, and you also have bunkers and out of bounds and trouble down the left too. So you have to really think about where you're positioning your shot.
Good lag, Kay.
It was. That was smart. And you have to have a lot of self-discipline to just try to two-putt, make a sure bogey.
5 birdies, now 2 bogeys, back to 11.
Second shot from Michelle, we pretty much downwind.
Yeah, straight downhill lie as well. That was 96 yards, playing for it to try and run back there.
No, it doesn't, just grabs up. That was a better looking shot than the result for Michelle Wee. But still a birdie attempt. Uh-oh. That is an ominous sound.
That wasn't for Luau?
Horn, no. That was not the conch shell.
Darn. Second time in as many days, and we're hearing a little rumble of thunder, Mark. How unusual is that?
Now, again, it's very unusual. Sort of conflicting forces that are causing this unstable air, and it's really sort of confined to very small areas along the course. But this one could be dangerous enough that they're actually going to get the players off the course and evacuate them. Of course, the spectators just as much a concern right now.
Yesterday they held them in position, but today they're going to get them off the course. Kay, can you tell us, did Stacey tap in, or does she still have a foot or so left for bogey?
She tapped in.
Okay. This is not one of the evacuation vehicles, but they are getting the players off the course, and Michelle Wee dangling on that cut line.
She's really been hanging tough too. She's been making some great par saves to keep herself right there.
She could easily be 2 or 3 over.
Easy, absolutely, even more so. We've seen her hole at least 3 or 4 putts that were very missable. They weren't easy, but she's hanging there.
This could be a really awkward situation, too, because with a delay, if there's any significant amount of time like we had yesterday, they may not be able to complete the round today, and then the cut actually could not be made until tomorrow morning. So you just hope that the players aren't off the course for more than 45 minutes or an hour, or finishing this second round would be in danger.
So we're off track a bit and into the evacuation vehicles as the nasty weather descends upon Koalina. Grant Boone and Women's British Open champion Karen Stupples, this is a little different than yesterday.
It is, because there is a dangerous situation approaching. Players were just yesterday held in position because it was just really heavy rain and the greens were puddling and pooling up, so they were trying to wait for it all to clear rather than bringing them in and having to take them back out, which of course takes a lot more time. However, when it is dangerous, you cannot take any chances with the players and all the spectators out on the golf course either. You have to get everybody to safety, so it's a very prudent play by the LPGA doing this. However, as Mark has said, it could prove time-consuming in getting the... And depending on how long this lasts, they may actually have to have some warm-up time as well.
Trouble in paradise. We're not used to this, are we, in Hawaii?
Although the weather forecasters have been correct, which is highly unusual.
Which throws us off. We're not used to the forecast being correct. Michelle Wee, you mentioned that she's hanging tough at 1 under. The ball striking doesn't seem to quite be there. I don't know how much of that is the wind and how much of it is just not maybe her hitting it as well.
I think a lot of it is the wind. It's really tricky out there. You have to really be committed to the shot that you're playing in terms of the distance that you want it to go, because if there's any doubt in your mind on that, you can be a little lax or a little weak and not release the club as you need to.
How nice
you have to be committed.
And how nice to be Jitanagarn
Oh, yeah.
and IK Kim.
Yes.
All finished. Tied for the lead. Jitanagarn and Kim. Oh, just a few minutes ago, the horn sounded. We have a second consecutive day with a weather delay, and so while we are on hold, we're going to take you back to some of the action from day one of the Lotte Championship, which includes top 3 players in the world in action.
Welcome back. This is So-Yeon Yu at the third, second shot up the hill to the par 4.
Just 103 yards, dead into that very strong wind. That was pitching wedge mark. Tried drilling it through that wind a bit. Hard to do with the wedge.
And that will sit nicely. Good distance control there. A little putt across the front of the green. Up to 18.
And Cheyenne Woods for her par.
You like to take advantage of the good luck when it comes. That was never really on line.
Even par 72 for Cheyenne Woods.
Back at 3 now, Area Jutanakarn with her second.
Downhill lie, but still just 82 yards to the hole.
That's a good one there. That'll back up. It'll be a straight putt up the hill, a little bit on the slow side, but a good chance. Made a mess of that opening hole. See if she can make amends there at the second. See the name Beth Allen there. She is in with a round of 67, and she is down with Tom.
Thank you, Mark. And Beth, you have a really interesting story, don't you? Because your rookie year on the LPGA Tour was 2005, but this is only your second full year, and what, we're 12 years later. So talk about your story and how you kind of came to be here and in such good form.
I guess I struggled out here in 5, 6, 7, and 8, and I was jumping around like Symetra and LPGA, and I thought it was time for a change, and so I went to the Ladies European Tour School and really just found my way out there. Like 2016 was a great year for me, and I won the Order of Merit, and I just felt like, you know what, I think I'll go back to the States and see what happens.
You know, you're the first U.S. player Order of Merit. So how has that sort of changed your perspective now that you're older and wiser here on the LPGA Tour?
I guess like I've just taken my experience from all of those wins and being in contention more and brought it here, because at the end of the day it's golf. It's the same in every country. So I am a confident player, and I think I can compete out here. So why not try again on the LPGA?
You've never seen the front nine of the golf course before you played today. Does that make a difference? You didn't get a chance to play that front nine in practice?
No, I was really busy watching the Masters Sunday, so I couldn't fly here. But yeah, so I traveled Monday, and I trust my caddy. Sophie is an awesome caddy, and she was here, and she did her work, and we went on a little walk yesterday after I played the back nine, and I thought, that's okay, and I felt really ready, so it didn't bother me that much.
Well, you're 2 under par for it, so obviously didn't make too much of a difference. Your caddy, by the way, not just a good caddy, but a very good player. Sophie Gustafsson, you remember that name. She is on the bag for Beth Allen this week. Thanks very much, Beth. Let's go out to the third.
Well, Area Jutanakarn totally misread that putt. For some reason, she thought it was going left. Never had a chance to do that. She's a little confused. We go to 18.
That 42-year-old Becky Morgan from Wales. She's birdied 5 of her last 6 holes, and here's her second to the 18th.
18th is a really tough driving hole. You see Becky going in with a hybrid. She doesn't hit a long ball, but you have to really choose the tee shot carefully, because you can run through very easily into the water, being downwind, especially today.
Back to 3.
So-Yeon Yu now for a birdie, Jerry.
Good look here, Mark. This one has to be moving a little right. A little bit of slope that way, certainly the grain and the wind.
Beautiful flowing stroke there. What a 3 that is. 4-4-3. Wonderful start for So-Yeon Yu. 2 under par. She heads over to the par 3. We go back to the second.
And Christy Kerr for birdie, and Kate Cockle is watching.
A rather tough putt from the upper tier down to the lower. But Christy's such a good putter, you never count her out.
That's the story of these greens, isn't it, Karen?
It is. It's all about the tiers and the slopes and the undulations. And when they say that, they're stimping a little slower than an average LPGA event at about 10.5, your uphill putts are going to be nearer 8 and your downhill putts are going to be nearer 13. So there's a great deal of difference for the players to have to adjust to.
And now, Lydia Ko for her par.
Good 6 feet here, Mark. Maybe right center. She came up well short of the green, at least a close short on her second shot from the fairway. Pitched it to here, left it under the hole, which is good, but it's a little too far to be all that comfortable.
This is the slow one Karen was referring to a moment ago. That's nice and firmly hit. So she kind of scratched her way up the first couple of holes, did Lydia Ko there, 5-5-4. She is one over. Scoring pretty good this morning at Colina, but the wind is coming up after it tends to do here in the afternoons. We'll be back to Colina right after this.
At the 18th, Becky Morgan. This is for birdie and a share of the lead. You've known Becky a while, haven't you?
I have. I played on the Curtis Cup with her, played on some Vagliano Trophy teams with her. Vagliano Trophy is Great Britain against Europe. It's uphill, going slow. It's really hard to make yourself hit it that hard where you have to go up these tiers.
To the tee at the 4 area, Jatanagarn.
Playing downwind, a little from the left as well. This is 7-iron for area. Soyuncu's already played with a 6-iron to the back right edge, just missed the green. This is heart of the green here, it appears.
And just before area, this was Soyuncu. Great start, 2 birdies in her first 3.
It's a really smooth swing, controlled, but being downwind, it's a very difficult club selection.
Let's get to the tee at the 8th, and Sandra Chankisha having a nice start, 3 under.
The top tier of this green where this hole is located is very skinny.
That's a nice save. And today's aerial coverage is provided by the Hawaiian Islands. Mark, how similar is this golf course to others we see on the islands, the various islands?
Well, as you mentioned, Grant, this is on the leeward side of the island. You know, it's a pretty flat golf course, but there's a lot of slope in the greens. As Karen said, it's really a second shot golf course, much more of a premium there than on the driving. And you really have to pay attention when you get on these greens. This is a look from behind the third green back down the fairway. NB Park has a second shot in here, and Kay is right there.
And Mark, NB is a second shot expert, ranking 4th on the tour in greens hit in regulation. Not too many weaknesses in her game at all, however. But a good drive down the left-hand side, just a wedge in.
Is going to feed on down to the right-hand portion. Key is hitting the ball solid in conditions like this. Much more important than necessarily hitting it low. Let's go back to 18.
And Becky Morgan for her first round in the 60s. And she will take it. She's missed the cut in her first 3 events, but that's a terrific start. Sometimes one round can do it, can't it?
You're looking for that little spark, that little bit that can spur you on, give you confidence to keep going, and that is nice. To get off to have a 68 means that she's not going to have to worry as much about making the cut tomorrow.
All right, Jerry, what about So-Yeon Yu's second shot here at the 4th?
Well, something she hasn't gotten much practice at this year. You heard Kay mention NB Park's 4th in greens in regulation, the young lady leading that statistical category. So-Yeon Yu at nearly 84%. She's hitting the greens. The good news is when she misses them, she's 3rd in scrambling. Pretty routine shot here, turning left a little bit. Appears to be downhill as it turns left, but it's not very quick.
We saw her play 2 spectacular chip shots on the 18th hole at the A&A Inspiration. One to make birdie in regulation.
About like that?
Exactly. She's been working really hard on that portion of her game as well.
Her instructor is Cameron McCormick, the same coach as Jordan Spieth. And she has actually had a little time to practice with Spieth at the end of last year, briefly. Here's Ariya Jutanugarn. Well, last week, Ariya Jutanugarn with the LPGA having a week off was in Augusta, receiving this honor as Player of the Year on the LPGA Tour in 2016 from the Golf Writers Association of America, along with Bernhard Langer. Dustin Johnson was not present because of that misstep that cost him a chance to play in the Masters. But Ariya and Moria got a chance to stand in front of the big board there at Augusta National and soak up the sights and sounds of the Masters. One we'll be talking about. And Jerry, you heard Beth Allen a minute ago say she was watching the Masters. At the Masters, they were talking about the LPGA last week.
Yeah, that became very newsworthy, didn't it? There were many articles written as late as Wednesday and Thursday, saying that when has the LPGA been in the news as much as it has been this week? Of course, it was for all the wrong reasons because of good look and effort there out of Ariya. All the wrong reasons because of the rules issue regarding Lexi, but a lot of people still have very strong thoughts on that.
Get your thoughts, Jerry, a little bit later, but first at the 8th, Sandra Chankisha to get the grain gobbled it up, didn't it?
It did, and it's almost like watching a ball roll through a puddle. You know, as it approaches the hole, it's like hitting the brakes, dropping anchor.
We had some puddles yesterday, Mark, some heavy rain in the area. This is at the 4th, and Lydia Ko.
A little bit uphill over a small tear in the green early. They'll turn it left. After that, not a lot to it, but kind of slow. Should die just a touch left.
Good pace there. So good effort for Lydia Ko. I can tell you, Grant, at the Masters last week, I was on live from the Masters, and we were still talking about the LPGA on Friday of last week, and even going around town doing a couple of corporate outings and things at night. That's really was the main subject on everybody's mind at Augusta National. Pretty amazing.
World number 1 Lydia Ko, 1 over. Back at 3.
Christy Kerr now for a birdie, Kay.
And Mark Christie is someone who is a very big supporter of Lexi, teamed quite successfully with her at the last Solheim Cup. In fact, I think they won 2.5 points together of the necessary points to win. This putt, she has to keep it high and firm at the start. Yeah, that was a 1 in 20 chance at best of making that putt.
Back to area.
Par putt. 5 wins all since last May for Area Jatanagarh. Remember, of course, at the A&A, she had that 2-shot lead with 3 to play and stumbled. Early stumble here today. She'll have a par 5 here coming up, and now this for a tremendous up and down for So-Yeon Yu.
Yeah, this is, well, it's that length. You wouldn't even put in a practice round or even a gambling game, is it? Or a match play event. Just a formality. Maybe just over a foot.
And yet that's the distance that caused all the hubbub at the A&A. Back to 3.
NB Park now had a pretty good look at Christy Kerr's putt.
See how well she learned from that putt of Christie's. She had the idea, just lacked the speed.
That is the Waianae Coast at the foot of the Waianae mountain range here on western Oahu. 4-way tie for the lead. Yes, it's Wednesday, prime time. Hope you all are jealous. You should be. It's the opening round of the Lotte Championship.
Salas Allen, G. Chung. 5 under on this par 72. Good to see Stacey Lewis off to a good start. 69 consecutive events without a victory for Stacey Lewis. Nicole Brock Larson is playing the 18th. Good rounds for Kang, Shimin Fang, Tanapu Bunyaras, and the last couple of groups are finishing up from the morning. And the afternoon groups are off and running, including So-Yeon Yu, who won a couple of weeks ago. This is the 6th Lotte Championship presented by Hershey. And each year it has come after an off week following the ANA. Suzuka Yamaguchi, an amateur, and a sponsor's invitation. Michelle Wie, 71, with 2 birdies in her first 3 holes. Got off to a hot start with a lot of folks, home folks watching here in her native Hawaii. Scoring average just a touch over par. Let's send it down to Tom Abbott.
Well, thank you, Grant. Becky, we just saw you finish up on 18, and Karen Stupples was saying when you've had a sort of not a good start to the year, you need something to click. You missed 3 cuts coming in here. You're 1 over through 11 holes, but then you finish up with a 68. What clicked with you? 5 birdies in the last 7.
Yeah, I mean, the front 9 just struggled a little bit. Ball striking wasn't great. I didn't hit it close enough to the pin. Kind of gave myself a little talking to through going to the 10th. And then just hit some really good shots. You know, a couple of tap-ins, a good kind of 15-footer on 12. So just totally turned my round around. Yeah, so.
The golf course is a little softer this year. Does that make it easier?
In a way, yes. I mean, obviously into the greens are really receptive. For someone like me who doesn't hit it super far, the fairways are a little soft, so I'm coming in with more club than would be ideal, but it definitely makes it a little more easy into the greens.
You grew up in Wales, you're from Wales, where it gets a little breezy, as we may see at the British Senior Open this summer. You now live in Port St. Lucie, where the wind does blow. Does that mean you like playing in the wind? It was windy today.
I enjoy it. I mean, I enjoy kind of being a little more creative with some shots and stuff. I mean, there's definitely a lot of golf courses where you need the wind for it to be a good golf course. I mean, I think this would be one of them where if there's no wind, there's really no defence here. So same with a lot of British Open golf courses. And I actually, fortunately, got to play Bandon Dunes a couple of weeks ago. So that was kind of good preparation for this, although it's about 40 degrees cooler. But you know, just kind of keeping shots down and just being a little more creative is kind of my thing. So.
You're involved with the Oregon Women's... Yeah, are you still coaching there?
Yeah, I'm the official volunteer assistant, so I went with the team a couple of weeks ago when I wasn't playing ANA. So it's great for me, actually. I help them out and helps my game as well, just, you know, trying to... with mental stuff, and I kind of say it to them, I'm like, why am I not doing that? So, yeah, it's good for me. I love it.
We know Oregon State team will be watching you over the next 3 days, so you'll have some support. Thanks very much for stopping by, and best of luck here in the Lotte Championship. Let's get back out to the 5th.
Speaking of collegiate stars, Mark. Stackhouse
just recently turned professional. Mariah Stackhouse, our first look at the par 5. It's going to be a pivotal hole today because it's playing downwind. Wonderful collegiate career and high expectations for Mariah as a professional.
The 18th second shot for Nicole Brock Larson. She had an interesting February event, Mark.
She did, Grant. I've never heard of this one before. She was playing the LET in Europe and was actually leading the tournament after the first 2 rounds. Had not taken a caddy. Said she didn't need a caddy. Obviously she didn't. She was leading. And then they told her she had to take a caddy on the weekend and shot a pair of 79s. Go figure.
Wow. Marissa Steen, who has a caddy. Playing there with Nicole Brock Larson. This is the final group from the morning wave off the first tee. So last hole of the day here for Steen and company.
Marissa played quite well at Kia a couple of weeks ago and really had learned a lot from being on tour, having to go back to play the Symetra Tour. Now feels very comfortable playing on the LPGA.
Okay, over at the 5th, this is the shot that I'm talking about. It's so important, Jerry Foltz, so young you looking skyward to try and figure out where the wind is coming from.
Had the 3-wood in her hands, now...
Exciting to see the 22 and go to 3 for the yellow. Come across the green. Go straight ahead. Jump.
Okay, so what I surmise from this, Mark, is trying to get it on the green is no longer the option or the idea, the goal. This is trying to hit it up there, hole high, right of the green, which is the safest shot. Such a tough shot to get on the green, 235 yards away, 228 to the front, or 227, excuse me.
I think it's maybe the toughest shot on the course, so she is aimed at the tallest of the palm trees there on the right.
And the wind is helping, but also a little from the left, so it works against the shot you need to hit to try and get it on the green. This will be safe.
That'll be all right. Not a lot of green to work with today on the angle from over there. Television doesn't do justice to the front right part of this green. A little bit of a false front over there. Now, area.
This is a 5-iron, 220 the hole, 213 to the front, and trying to hit a low power hook and try and chase it up there.
That was a semi-layup, which I'm not sure what that is, but it was a pretty aggressive one, I'll tell you that, to get that close to that hazard. Back to 4.
And Christy Kerr for birdie, Kay.
Grant, Christy lining up this birdie putt. It's a good 40-footer. I have to say I had the pleasure of playing in her recent Birdies for Breast Cancer fundraiser that she held at Olympic Club last Friday. She held the event for years on the East Coast at Liberty National, but intends to hold it at Olympic Club for the next 4 years leading up to the Women's Open that will be played there in 2021.
Third shot at the 18th for Nicole Brock-Larson.
Had a good performance at Evian, so she knows what playing on the LPGA is all about. It is a little different from playing in the Ladies European Tour. Courses typically set up a little bit tougher over here. Greens quicker, but has a lot of talent, and most people in Europe tend to believe that she's going to be one of those players that has potential to be a Solheim Cup player in the future, if not this year.
At the 4th, NB Park for birdie.
Again, getting a teach off of Kerr. Two of the best putters on the LPGA Tour.
Boy, I'll say, they don't need much help, do they?
No, with NB, it's all intuition and feel. Never has had a real putting lesson except for a few observations from her husband.
4 pars to start first round.
Over at 9, Sandra Jankita, her second shot. Gotten it to 3 under par. First look at this par 4. And that's the way to use the ground. Bounces up, leaves it about 20 feet below the hole. A little bit of an uphill hooking putt. And the reason that Lydia Ko has her hand on that ball is they are playing with clean and plays today. There was some considerable rain yesterday afternoon. They were anticipating a little more this afternoon, but I don't see it coming.
I like your optimism, Mark, especially being the outdoor pet today. He just has 58 yards remaining here. Breeze almost entirely from the left. And you do, even though it's only 58 yards, you have to factor that in a little bit.
58, a little bit of a handcuff distance, isn't it, Jerry?
Yeah, for a lot of players, but she is so dialed in that just day in and day out with her wedges of any length.
Oh, that's a beauty. Total control there by Lydia Ko. Too much spin, and she would have been chipping another one. It's a gorgeous Wednesday afternoon here on the island of Oahu.
back to our second round coverage of the Lotte Championship here at Carolina Golf Channel and the LPGA Tour, bringing you live second round action of the Lotte Championship presented by Hershey. Players off the golf course because of the threat of inclement weather, the rain coming down here on the island of Oahu. Let's get you caught up with what has happened already today. Ariya Jutanugarn, the world number 3, with a really solid day today. 66. She is tied for the lead at 9 under par. Jutanugarn, who has been over the last 12 months the best player in the world, potentially battling with Lydia Ko, top of those world rankings. She won 3 times in the month of May last year to really kickstart that run, and looking for a win here in Hawaii. IK Kim, who won during the Asian Swing in 2016, looking for another victory. IK Kim with the low round of the week is 64. She's tied at the top at 9 under par with Ariya Jutanugarn. A big week for So-Yeon Ryu in the spotlight because of that win at the ANA Inspiration a couple of weeks ago. She has the chance to become the world number 1 here with a victory if Lydia Ko can finish outside of the top 5. So-Yeon Ryu very steady as she usually is. No drop shots, 3 birdies in a round of 69 to go with her 68 on day 1. This was her tee shot to the 8th. So-Yeon, who said that she was nervous coming into this week, the expectations on her shoulders. She knew there would be a lot of chatter about how she would play here, and so far she has lived up to those expectations. She's only 2 shots back. Stacey Lewis, a lot has been spoken about Stacey in that battle to win again. First time in almost 3 years. Coming in here a little under the radar, but off to a perfect start in round 2 after that 68 in round 1. That was a birdie at the first for Stacey Lewis, and she would birdie the second as well, par the third. This was her tee shot at the 4th, the par 3. And the wind beginning to whip up in the afternoon. Certainly the players in the morning had the best of the conditions. Pretty breezy for the afternoon starters, which included Stacey Lewis, but she would make a birdie there on the 4th hole. 3 birdies in the first 4 for Lewis. Ahead to the 9th, this her second to the par 4. 7 under par, just a couple of shots back. And that would set up a great chance for birdie for Lewis to end the front 9. So this is how things stand as players are off the golf course because of the threat of lightning and heavy rain, which is coming down here at Carolina. You can see Jutanugarn and IK Kim tied at 9 under par. Stacey Lewis and Soo-Young Jang 7 under, trying to mount a challenge for those players still out on the course. I've had a chance to talk with Sue Witters, who is the most senior rules official here on site. She said that the players were brought off the golf course at 3:31 because of the threat of lightning. Now, this storm that was moving through didn't have any lightning in it. They thought they were going to get away with it. Yesterday, you'll remember that they kept the players on the golf course despite the heavy rain when the greens began to flood because of the rain. But they kept them out there, and then they kept playing after a 45-minute delay. But today, that lightning really kicked up as the storm was over the mountains, and it meant that they needed to bring the players off the golf course immediately. That evacuation was put into place, and the players are now back here in the clubhouse. I'm sitting on the terrace of the clubhouse. Players are just milling around, waiting for an update. That update is supposed to come at 20 past 4 local time, so it's about 10 minutes away. It's a 6-hour time difference between here in Hawaii and the East Coast. Here's the catch for the LPGA Tour officials. If they can get the players back out by 4:31 local, that's an hour from when the delay was first started, they don't have to let the players warm up. If the delay is longer than an hour, then they are forced, due to the LPGA regulations, to let the players warm up once again before they go out. Obviously, they would like to get them out as soon as possible, get things back on track. Yesterday, they played golf here until about 7:15. That was the last group finishing up at about 7:15. They'll hope to go as late as they can here today to try and get things back on track. But right now we're in a holding pattern. The rules officials are keeping an eye on the forecast, keeping an eye on the conditions, and as soon as things are safe, they will try and get the players back out there. But as I said, the lightning was in the rainstorm here, and as soon as that happens, as soon as it is within a dangerous distance, they have to bring the players off the course. They're well versed in doing that, and that's exactly what they did. So in the meantime, we will take you back to coverage from day 1 of the Lotte Championship. Welcome
Welcome back to the Coalina Golf Club. This was a moment ago at 5. So Young Yu with her third shot at the par 5.
And that was from just a little inside 40 yards and was always going to be tough to put enough spin on it to keep it below the hole.
Took a big first bounce, so she will be putting it back down the hill. Now this is live for a birdie.
Looking left of the hole, expecting it to drop right, and the wind's blowing across the line just the opposite direction. Could hold it up some. But this hole, sitting down at a very low point of this side of the golf course, is pretty well protected.
Did she hit it? Nope. Par for you at the 5th. She will walk over to 6th thinking she squandered a shot there. But it's only the first round, so we go up to 18.
And Marissa Steen finishing up her opening round here at the Lotte Championship for birdie and a 69.
And the ball rose really well through those fringes. Very true.
70's a good start to the 9th.
Sandra Chankaja for a birdie. Pretty straight putt. Oh, she thought maybe it would turn right, but it's almost never going to go toward those mountains. Back down to 5 now. Lydia Ko from below the hole. Up to a slow start, but she can get back to level par here. Got to hit this one firm, though, Jerry.
Yeah, pretty much it is uphill. One of those rare ones where most of the grain runs the opposite way of this one. Runs toward the, I guess, over to our condos over there, basically, which would be straight in line with this putt. A little slow, not terribly. Ooh.
A little more pace it might have gone, but it was right all the way. 5 for Ko. She won't be happy with that one. Let's take another look. Oh, the ball's bobbling just a little. That line should be tumbling straight over. So she might have cut across it just a little bit. 3 5s in the first 5 holes, though. That is not a good start here. Jutanagar now for her birdie.
Probably got a little bit of a teach there, Mark, didn't she? From Lydia, left side of the hole. Keep the speed up, maybe left edge if you don't.
So much of putting on these greens, on these seaside courses in Hawaii, is about confidence, Jerry. If you hit it with conviction, you always have a better chance of making it. You're never going to wish this putt in.
Yeah,
that was low, just like I said. Pars at 5 in that grouping. So she will have played the 1st and the 5th in 1 over par. You're not going to win the Lotte Championship doing that on the par 5s. Here's one more look. It's amazing how when those balls miss on the low side, they never fall uphill into the hole. Once it's low, it's gone.
Nicole Brock Larson for par. Marissa Steen made her par. So the last 2 players of the year on the Ladies European Tour are off to good starts. Beth Allen, a 67. Nicole Brock Larson, 2 years ago the player of the year on the LET with a 68, joining Stacey Lewis, among others. Prime time at the Lotte Championship back on the East Coast. We've got primetime players, the top 3 in the world rankings, including number 2 So Yeon Yu in our Wednesday coverage. Saturday finish here on Oahu.
Welcome back to the Lotte Championship. We've been showing you round one coverage because of a weather delay here on Oahu at Ko'olina Golf Club. This was the radar, and you can see it bubbled up pretty quickly, and the electricity was what worried the rules officials. The rain was moving through, just rain, which would only be a problem with the flooding of the golf course, which is what we saw on day one. But as soon as that electricity was detected, the rules officials pulled the players right off of the golf course. But the good news is that the players are heading out of the clubhouse back onto the golf course. Dan Maselli, one of the rules officials, just came up here to the terrace of the clubhouse and informed the players that play is going to start as soon as possible. They need to get back out onto the golf course into the positions that they were when the horn was blown. There are shuttles to take them out if they have a long way to go, but they need to get out there as soon as possible. And the instructions from Dan: do not play until you hear the horn, but as soon as that horn goes, of course, they can begin to play. So the good news, the storm has blown through. The electricity is no longer a problem, and so that means the dangerous situation is over. Yesterday we saw the rain come down, the golf course flooded, and play was suspended for 45 minutes, but there was no electricity, so the players were kept out there. Different story today, but the good news is they're going to head back out. And the key for the LPGA officials was that play was suspended for less than 1 hour, so therefore they don't have to let the players go to the range to warm up. As soon as they go through that 1 hour barrier, they do need to let the players warm up. So we've got some good news for you, but whilst we get situated here, the players get back out. We are going to take you back to our first round coverage, but as soon as we have some golf to show you here live from day 2, we'll be back with you.
It's the 8th event out of 34 official money events on the LPGA Tour in 2017. Salas, Allen, G, Chung, all in at 5 under. On a golf course that's been quite receptive this morning. The afternoon groups are teeing off. The morning groups have all finished. Grant Boone, major champion Karen Stupples, joined by Mr. Hawaii, kind of our Don Ho of the week, Mark Rolfing. Tom Abbott is here, Jerry Foltz and Kate Cockrell. We'll get you to the 6th, and ANA Inspiration champion So-Yeon Yu.
Pretty wide fairway. Players do have to be careful of driving through on the left side. No problem for So-Yeon. Ball striking particularly good this year. Hits lots of fairways, lots of greens.
Back we go to the 5th.
This was just earlier, second shot for Christy Kerr, and Kay was right there.
After 288-yard drive, this going left.
Get lucky, she says.
See it?
That is not lucky.
Did that go in the water way left?
Yes, it did, Christy, but it doesn't matter because it ricocheted off that wood right there as we go to 6.
And Mariah Stackhouse for birdie.
Slow putt, back up the hill.
Is it enough? Oh yeah. Most stacks. She's 1 under. Four-way tie for the lead and a nice group chasing. One of them, Nicole Brock-Larson, is with Tom Abbott.
Thank you, Grant. This is Nicole's first visit to Hawaii. I'm sure you like it from what you've seen so far, certainly with the golf you played today. You Monday qualified into the event in the Bahamas. You have conditional status on the LPGA Tour this year. How important was today, and how important is this week for you?
Well, I mean, obviously, it's quite important. I mean, the reshuffle is right after the next event in Texas, so if I can make the cut and have a good finish this week, it'll be very good.
Yeah, the LPGA Tour uses a priority list to get into the fields, and players are reshuffled, as you say, after that tournament in Texas. So you're looking for a big paycheck this week to reshuffle higher. Now, talk about your year so far. You've been all over the world, haven't you?
Yeah, I mean, I've been to Bahamas, Australia, Florida, China, and now I'm here. So yeah, it's been all over. But I haven't played my best golf. But in Bahamas, I played quite well. I had one bad round, and then I mean, today was a really good day. I like this course, and with this wind, I feel more confident in wind than I did last year. So yeah, a good day here, and I'm looking forward to the next 3 days.
Now, job security among the caddy ranks on the LPGA Tour is not always that high. And Mark Rolfing told us a little story earlier about you at the Vic Open. Caddy's job security for you may be really low after what he was saying. Tell us a little bit about what happened there with the caddy situation.
Yeah, I went to Australia without a caddy because, first we could do all 4 days on our own, and I'm normally pretty good on my own. It's nice to have a caddy, but I feel like I'm good on my own too. I won the Symetra Tour final last year on my own. I played the first 2 rounds. I was leading, and then, not that it was the caddy's fault, but then I got a caddy and I played really bad. But this week I have a guy called Scott from Scotland, and he's normally challenged to a caddy for one of the Danish guys. So he's here this week for me, and then if I make a good result this week and get into more events, I'll have to find a caddy.
Scott knows where he stands. Well, best of luck this week. I hope it goes well for you. Thanks for talking to us. And as you just said, you're going to Spain right from here next week to play the LET. Then you may come right back and play in Texas. So we may see more of you. Thanks, Nicole. Let's get back out to the action now at the 6th hole.
And you see our marquee group with some folks watching. Jerry Foltz is out there. And again, they're playing preferred lies, Jerry, and talking to some of the rules officials. It was just mainly precautionary.
Yeah, they had some rain yesterday. They were expecting some today. It's the one thing where the USGA and golf's professional tour organizing bodies completely disagree. The USGA will tell you, to the best of their knowledge, they have never played preferred lies in a national championship, but it happens all the time on the LPGA, the PGA Tour. All organizing bodies do that. I think more than anything, it's to help players get around the course. If there were a lot of casual water out here, it's not that way yet, but it could have been.
She's missed the green, but she'll have a birdie look to the 7th.
Aditi Ashok has gotten it to 3 under. This is for a birdie, hoping it'll turn left. It doesn't. Still a nice round going. She will tap that one in for her par. We go back to 6.
And with the shades on, So-Yeon Yu with a second shot.
This from 139 yards. She's seen both fellow competitors before Area hit. Lydia Ko hit and airmailed the green as well. Area a little long, so I would expect this to be adjusted and maybe come up a little short. Maybe.
She threw no shade at Lexi Thompson. In fact, the way that those two spoke about one another after what happened to the ANA was one of the redeeming parts about that incident. Mutual respect. 4-way tie for the lead at the Lotte Championship at Ko'olina in Kapolei, Hawaii. We are back live now at the Lotte Championship on this Thursday evening on the East Coast. It's 4:30 here in Hawaii. Grant Boone, major champion Karen Stupples, Mark Rolfing, Jerry Foltz, Kate Cockrell, Tom Abbott. It has been 1 hour since the horn first blew to stop play. Had some rain blow through. Stacey Lewis is getting the wrists loose. What was your go-to move, Karen? Get ready.
I really didn't have a go-to move to get ready. Maybe just have a few little swings around. I didn't like swinging too close because then when you get over it, it would feel too light and had a tendency to swing too fast. But try and do a little bit of turning at the very least. But I always was one of those players that could just turn up on the first tee and hit a shot and go. I never really needed too much.
The task at hand for Michelle Wie, regardless of how much golf we can get in today, is make the cut.
It is. I think it's slightly easier now for the players, and I'm sure we'll talk to the guys out on the ground in a little bit, but to me it looks like the wind has died down slightly. The greens will be a little bit softer still. The only difficulty is that they're going to have to get back into the round again. Michelle Wie was in full-on grind mode. She was making those putts. She was really hanging in there really well. You take a little bit of time off from that. Now you've got to get back into it again. So you've got to regroup mentally with the focus.
I wonder if the swing isn't... Did you ever have a moment where you weren't swinging great and you had a little delay? Did it give you a chance to maybe get your bearings? Like if you're not playing well?
It's more about the momentum. It's not so much the swing because you can't really work on the swing or do too much. You can think about the rhythm or things like that, and especially here because they haven't had a chance to hit any balls again. But mentally you have a chance to regroup and to get back out there and try and, you stop the momentum if it's going backwards. In the same way as if you've made a load of birdies, it can stop that momentum for the worse as well.
It can work both ways, can it?
Yep.
I think it was a good stop for Michelle Wie, actually. She needed to change the momentum a little bit, as you say. Karen, Stacey Lewis, of course, had great momentum and actually may work the other direction. But, there's some things you really have to do when you do a restart. Michelle Wie just got over a putt there at 11 and realized she didn't have a golf ball. She said to Katie, hey, can I have the ball, please? So there's a lot to do to get yourself back ready. But it is going to be a good afternoon. The key for these players on the restart, particularly like Michelle Wie that's at 11, is the 13th and 14th holes, back-to-back par fives. You need to grab at least one birdie there, maybe two.
We've been watching her since she was 12 years old. She qualified for a USGA event, the U.S. Women's Amateur, when she was 10. Michelle Wie.
Yeah, I'll tell them. Thank you. They are. The paths are super slippery.
And as they wait to restart, let's take a look and see who's up to the challenge presented by Prudential. Stacey Lewis at the par 5 first. And then backing it up at the second. This is a bonus here, isn't it?
It really is, and you wouldn't think so. From all the way down on that lower level, has to come up the tier really slow. But she makes it look easy.
And then after a par at 3, this beauty at the 4th.
Tough hole, this 4th. Very long today, playing 196. Have to judge the pitch and roll because it was so downwind. She does that about as well as you could do.
3 birdies in her first 4. And this is her second shot at the 9th.
And all the players were quite happy. This one was really downwind today. Little backstop action there by Stacey. She takes advantage of it.
5 birdies and a couple of bogeys. Stacey Lewis up to the challenge so far. 68 yesterday, and there's the scorecard today. Coming off a bogey at the 10th when her tee shot found the water right. Now the clouds are parting. Play is about to resume, and we'll have live golf for you when we come back at the Lotte Championship. We're waiting for Dan Maselli, our Gabriel, to come blow the horn and get things started again. At the Lotte Championship, we've had a little over a 1-hour weather delay.
Some players have a little further to go than others to get back into their position on the golf course. Rules officials driving around, making sure everybody is where they need to be.
Brooke and Brittany Henderson waiting. We had Yoonhee Ji pitch one across the green at 18, and she went into a hazard. So she's going to be hitting a 5th shot.
That's not something you want to sit on in the break, is it?
Sit up for an hour. Yeah. She had time to look for it. I think it's certainly in the water. NG Chun, meanwhile, just keeps smiling, and doesn't matter, does it, for NG? Well, book like a pro with GolfNow VIP, an all-new annual membership featuring no convenience or cancellation fees and 25% more rewards points on every round you book. Become a VIP today at golfnow.com/VIP. We've been keeping you abreast of the current cut line. +1, and that's where these two players, Michelle Wie and Brooke Henderson, sit. And there are some others. Would not appear that Brittany Lincecum is going to be around for the next couple of days. And we have, Mark, little less than 2.5 hours of sunlight here, daylight.
Going to be right on the borderline again. For those that weren't with us earlier, I talked about what an important cut it's going to be to make, because I think anybody that ends up playing the final 2 rounds would still have a chance to win this tournament. And, of course, for the rookies and players with only conditional status, there will be a reshuffle in the immediate future. And you just want to make that cut, get to the final 2 rounds, and then play well those last 36 holes.
And I think part of that depends on as well, if you have a 1-tee start on Saturday, and you'll have a large gap of time between the leaders teeing off and some of the people chasing, you can get really great greens to start off, and you can post a really good number early. And then if the leaders are out there playing in a bit of wind, anything could happen.
Mark and Karen, I'd love to get your thoughts. Mark, your perspective, certainly as someone who's watched men's and women's players, women players for the last 40 years or so. And Karen, you were a player when Michelle came on tour. You remember the first time that each of you saw Michelle play, and what were your memories?
I first saw her, Grant, when she was 9 years old. At 10, she was just a phenom here in Hawaii. At the age of 12, she won the Hawaii Women's Open by 12 strokes. Really ran out of competition out here, and she took a lot of heat and criticism for her decision to turn professional when she was at the age of 16 years old. But frankly, it was a different kind of place. He said before that geographically it's the most remote set of islands in the entire world, and she needed some competition. I believe it was the right decision at the time. It seems like she's been around forever. You have to remember, she is still a young lady. She's not even 30 years old, and I still think she has some good golf ahead of her.
Blow it, Dan, blow it. We're underway. We resume an hour and 10. You remember, Karen?
I do. It was actually here. I played when she Monday qualified. I was in the tournament.
Fuji.
And exactly. And I remember going out for a practice round and following her round. She was in front of me. And I thought, there's no way she's that young. There's no way. She swings it too well. And she was so tall. I mean, when you look to her in the face, you're like, okay, she's still a youngster. Yeah. But every other aspect of the game, and it was quite eye-opening because she was the first one that was that young. Since we've seen Lydia Ko come through very young, but that was back then. That was unheard of to see somebody playing that well so young and with such power.
I did an interview with her when she was 11 years old, Karen, and I said, how good do you think you can be, or how good do you want to be? And she said, I want to be as good as Tiger Woods, and I think I can be as good as Tiger Woods. So she even had that thought in her mind at the age of 11.
Okay, so Yoonhee Ji, this is her 5th shot. 3rd went into the water, so she goes to the drop zone. Par par 4. So a putt for double bogey to drop her back to 4 under. Kay Cockrell watching Austin Ernst for birdie at the 10th.
She's had quite some time to survey this from every angle. Oh, that looks so good most of the way.
Been a wild day for her, hasn't it?
It has. A lot of inconsistency.
To the 12th, Laura Gonzalez Escajon for birdie. She's right on the cut line at 1 under.
She made 2 cuts out of her 5 cuts out of her 5 tournaments so far this year. She's had 1 top 10. She has the potential, and I think she would really like to get in this one, play at the weekend, just to keep building on her rookie season on tour.
If she makes the cut, she'll be 3 for 6 as